Welcome to Cavaletta Studios. I'm Chris. This is a quick tutorial demonstrating the correct and incorrect way to foam roll the back. So let's get started. Many people are asking me how to roll the full back, or if you've got low back pain, I've been there. Maybe you have a slip disc, bulging disc, degenerative disc. We want to be aware of how we use the foam roller and how we address those issues in our back. So really quick, when we roll the back, we think about how the natural curvature of the spine goes and where we have support. The upper back, we tend to be more rounded, and we always want to improve our posture. So one way to do that would be to lean back on the roller with the roller across the shoulder blades, and of course supporting the head and the neck, and then just leaning the body weight around the roller as we lean back and curve around, and try to breathe here, expanding that thoracic spine in the chest. The rib cage can support that thoracic spine there, so this is okay. Another option is to roll the upper back, and that would be lifting the hips and rolling to the top of the shoulder blades and towards the bottom of the shoulder blades, just getting that short distance in the upper back. You might even get a natural chiropractic little adjustment there, hearing those little pops. The other thing that I see a lot of people do is, instead of rolling just the upper back, they'll jump on that roller nice and low, they'll go to the top, and then they roll all the way to the bottom of the low back. That can cause some issues, especially if you already have something going on in those vertebrae. When you get down there, we have that natural curve, so already we're giving too much of an extension, and that pressure, there's nothing there to support that low back as far as even a rib cage there. So there's other options to get into the low back, and we get very tight down here. How many times we're like, oh, I gotta stretch out my low back. And many times, instead of going forward, we tend to turn a little to the side, getting into the side of that low back area, which is called the QL, or quadratus lumborum. That's why we just say QL. So to get into the QL, we avoid the vertebrae. You're going to lean back on one elbow on the back side of that roller and onto a hip. And then you can just bend the knees slightly, have your back leg. So I'm on my left side, my right foot's on the floor for support. I'm gonna pull that roller down nice and tight right above my hip and lean my body weight into it. So my hips, I'm about 45 degrees at an angle, so I'm not hitting my spine at all, and the pressure is not on the side of my waist, but just on the middle of that side of that low back there. Now you can just stay here and breathe and feel pressure, and that's plenty. Maybe you can lift your hips off the floor and do a small little movement, rolling up and down, and a little rock side to side. So it's a great way to get into that QL area, or that low back, without messing around with our vertebrae or causing any issues. Then you can try the other side as well. And then I'm going to show you a second option, but let's balance ourselves out. So if you're doing this with me, just roll to the other side, drop that right knee, keep the left foot flat, your right elbow's behind the roller, pull that roller nice and tight as you lean back about 45 degrees, and just let your body weight sink into that soft spot right in the low back area. Again, you're not completely on your side, you're more towards the back, depending on the space between your hips and your rib cage. Now, if your hips and your rib cage are nice and long, between the space there, you can lift the hips, do a gentle roll. You can rock and roll side to side. Now, if the roller is very challenging to get into that spot, that QL, a great way to find it is to place your hips, your hand right on top of that hip bone, and then lean into it. And where you feel your thumb going in to that little crease or spot, right above the soft spot above your hip bone, that's right into that QL. A great way to get in there if you don't want to use a roller are tennis balls. You can use one or two. 2 is great because you just lay onto your back. You place them so they're stacked right there above that hip. And just rock yourself gently side to side. So they're not on the side of my waist and they're not against the vertebrae at all. And you just do a little rock side to side. And again, you can use 2 tennis balls, or if your space between your hip and your rib cage is very small and you have a shorter waist, then you just use 1 tennis ball and you can rock side to side and adjust it around. Another option, you have them stacked, or you can place them next to each other. Again, they're not touching the spine at all. So when you rock yourself side to side, one might be much more to the side of the waist, and one's a little closer to the vertebrae, but not touching, and above that waistline. And then you would rock off the tennis balls, and then repeat again on the other side, using those 2 tennis balls stacked right there, and then eventually turn them sideways and rock side to side. So that is how we use the foam roller or the tennis balls to loosen up and help relieve some of that tension in the low back without hurting the vertebrae of that lower spine. Thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy that foam roller. Namaste.